to Japan and a monumental day in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship as we race on the streets of Tokyo for the very first time in the all-electric series. A race in this country has been on the wish list since the championship was founded, and finally here in season 10 it's happening, and it's going down in a matter of minutes as we bring you live commentary from just after 6 a.m. this morning. Motorsport is obviously huge here in Japan, and some of the drivers on the grid today have seen some serious success in this country. We'll hear from some of them ahead of the start of the race, but first let's remind ourselves of what happened last time out in Brazil as a driver who's been here from the very start made it back to the top step in Sao Paulo.
Lap left to go, one more time around this 2.9 kilometre circuit for the Sao Paulo E-Prix to see who's going to come on top. It is Mitch Evans leading from Sam Bird, Jake Dennis, Pascal Wehrlein and Ollie Rowland, your top five. Sebastian Buemi has the best energy toward the back end of the top 10, but I think courtesy of the heat they are unable to fully use it. Is there going to be a move for the race lead into the first corner? No, there is not. Evans is able to hold on. Sam Bird is able to stay in second position comfortably and is trying to set up a move coming down into turn 4. Jake Dennis is able to defend from Pascal Wehrlein for third position as well, as Sam Bird is desperate to take this victory. He'll be hungry for it again. It's been 36 races in his Formula E career since his previous victory in New York. They work their way into the final sector now, and Sam Bird is as close as being. The both of them are equal on energy. This is about a battle between the pair of them. They work their way up through the fast left-hander at turn 9, and Sam Bird is getting to the outside. Sam Bird throws it into the penultimate corner, straight around the outside, and he has taken the lead from Mitch Evans, who looks back down the inside into the final turn, and for the first time in 36 races, Sam Bird is victorious in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Evans comes across the line in second place. Ollie Rowland somehow sneaks the podium for Nissan. Absolutely incredible. Pascal Wehrlein and Jake Dennis in fourth and fifth. Here's some radio from Bird. Oh my God!
Bird is back. Bird is back. Yes, mate.
There's life in the old dog. Yeah, I think I might have used up all my talent now. But don't tell Ian and Zach Brown that.
A huge moment for Sam Bird and a huge moment for Neon McLaren Racing, their first victory in Formula E. I'm John Jackson, joined by pit lane reporter in the Formula E World Championship, Radzi. And Radzi, just a massive moment there for Sam Bird. It's been a tough couple of years for him.
A huge moment, a legend of the sport, a man who until very recently had won a race in every single Formula E season. In season 1 when it first began, up to season 8, and in season 9 it began to unravel for the man. The British driver really has carried this electric racing series on his back, and to put into context how big his win was, 37 races it had been between Sam's win in Sao Paulo and his last win in New York 2021. So it had been a long time coming, but not just the fact that he won, the way in which he won, the bottle it took. He could have been guaranteed on the podium with a final lap. That wasn't enough for him. Second, it wasn't enough. He rolled the dice of destiny on the final turn and basically made one of those moments in sport that you will remember for a very long time.
Yeah, as we just heard there in our commentary from last weekend, it was just a last chance, and he just took that chance and finished the race, and you could just hear how elated he was on the team radio there. A huge moment as well for Nissan driver Ollie Rowland. We're going to talk about that in just a second. He sneaked up and took a podium there, and huge things happening for him at the moment. But first, let's hear from Sam Bird, the latest race winner. I caught up with him alongside his teammate at Neon McLaren Racing, Jake Hughes, and he told me it was important that the team have bagged their first victory in Formula E.
Huge win for Neon McLaren to get their first win. You know, the project here has been going a year and a half, and Jake has watched it just slowly progress, and I think that this year especially we've managed to find some small little things that have enabled us to both go racing and race at the front a little bit more often, which is great, and everybody's working extremely hard to make sure that we try and stay in or around the front of the grid.
Jake, that must have been really magic for you to see Sam get that race win, the first win, but you're a little bit jealous that it wasn't you that got that accolade?
No, not jealous. It was great for everyone, you know. I mean, I said it in the internal debrief we did at the team afterwards back at Bicester. It's been a long time since sort of the end of season 8. The team have had a huge change, a lot of personal sacrifice probably had to happen from everyone in the team to just enable the team to keep going, let alone form at the front. So it was nice to see everyone's smiling faces, and looking at Sam, it was just great to see him. Wow, I mean, I said it before the season, it was I advised him that it's just be good to see him enjoying racing again, so for him to be standing on the top step was great.
It's obviously a big weekend here in Japan as well. Can you just explain why specifically for McLaren it's a big weekend with the partnership you have with Nissan?
Well, yeah, Nissan are our manufacturer, so they supply the powertrain for us, and obviously Nissan's a Japanese company and brand and manufacturer, so it's a home race for them, which by association is kind of a semi-home race for us. We're using that powertrain in the back, and it's like every race, it's important to have a good result, but it'd be nice to have a good one this weekend.
Sam, what do you think about the track here? I know you've only driven it at this point on the simulator, but you know it's pretty wet out there, but it still looks like quite a technical, difficult track.
Yeah, I just walked it actually, and after walking it, swam it. I feel slightly better about the circuit actually. I feel like the grip level that we might get is slightly better than what I felt like I was going to get after the simulator running. Maybe some more overtaking opportunities than what I initially thought on the Dill. So yeah, we could be in for an exciting Saturday.
Well, Sam Bird there alongside Jake Hughes in the Neon McLaren garage, and Radzi Sam predicting an exciting race there. There is lots of overtaking in Formula E. It's one of the big selling points, as well as racing in city centres like we are here in Tokyo, Japan. But some of the street tracks are obviously trickier than others for overtaking. What do you make of this track here? What are the drivers telling you in the pit lane?
The drivers are telling me two things: what they knew beforehand and what they now know, having taken part in quali. What they thought was it was going to be tight. There wouldn't be many overtaking opportunities, just like you said. It's a proper street race, so cars would normally be going down this. And streets, quelle surprise, are not designed for motor racing cars to drive around each other at very, very fast speeds. The thing they hadn't expected were how significant the bumps have been. It's turned into a physical track. And the significant part of a bump is if you're driving at 40 miles an hour on a dual carriageway and there's a bump, it doesn't really affect you. But the stiffness of the suspension, the nature of these cars, mean you get air. And that means it's very difficult to slow down when you are mid-air, which therefore changes braking points, which therefore changes lifting points, because this is also about energy preservation and management as well. So there's a lot of things that are going to be very difficult to predict, I suppose, which for us makes it very interesting. And I think on this particular track, procession racing isn't something that you really see in Formula E, but this could possibly be a track that might encroach on that idea if it wasn't for the bumps and if it wasn't for the couple of overtaking opportunities which people will roll the dice on, and not to mention attack mode as well.
Well, of course, attack mode, we're going to hear an explanation of that if you are new to the Formula E World Championship very, very soon. Qualifying very important here, as we are in the big site area of Tokyo, sort of port area here in the city centre. Loads of fans, as you might be able to hear around us, streaming in now, getting to their positions to watch the race. Qualifying in Formula E happens on the same day. It's a one-day amazing day out for fans. You get to watch qualifying, you get to watch the race as well, and free practice if you're here early. And also, you know, from the next race in Misano, there'll also be a support series which we'll talk about when we come to that. But qualifying happened a few hours ago, and let's see how the drivers line up for today's race here in Tokyo.
A dramatic qualifying session on Formula E's newest track. It was Ollie Rowland that took pole position in the finals of the duels for his second pole position of the season for the Nissan team on home turf. He was able to beat Maxi Günther to pole position by just 21,000th of a second. Highlights from qualifying include excellent semi-final appearances in the duels from Sergio Sette Camara, who was beaten by Maxi Günther, and a personal best qualifying of the season from a struggling Mahindra in the hands of Edo Mortara, who was pipped in the semi-finals by Ollie Rowland. The bout of qualifying saw two of the top three in the championship knocked out in the quarter-final stages, Mitch Evans beaten by Ollie Rowland and Pascal Wehrlein beaten by Maxi Günther. The drama didn't stop there though. Championship leader had his lap time removed at the end of qualifying, so Nick Cassidy will have to start from 19th place on the grid, and the race winner back in Sao Paulo, well, there it was Bird is back, and now it is Bird at the back. Sam Bird starting from the rear of the field after qualifying drama. The top 10 in qualifying then is Ollie Rowland on pole position, Maxi Günther will start from second, Edo Mortara takes third, Sergio Sette Camara will join him on the second row of the grid. Row 3 sees series champion Jake Dennis in 5th with Mitch Evans in 6th, Pascal Wehrlein and Nico Müller start in 7th and 8th, and Antonio Felix da Costa and Robin Freins round out the top 10.
I think, Radzi, it's always an entertaining qualifying in Formula E. It never seems seems to be a boring situation because of the duels and the way that the semi-finals, quarter-finals, and then the final there. And Oliver Rowland, a driver that has just blown us away this season, having only done half a season in this current Gen 3 car. He was with Mahindra last year. He stepped out of that car halfway through the season. He's back with Nissan, a team he knows really well. And what an occasion to put a Nissan on pole here in Japan.
His second pole of the season, his 8th career pole in total. And in sport, context is everything. You mentioned his time at Mahindra. When he walked away from that team, we didn't know if he'd ever see him in a Formula E car again. Yet not only has he gone back, his adaptation to the setup here has just been mythical. I spoke to Tommaso Volpe, the team principal at Nissan, and that's what he touched on, how impressed and surprised he was to see Ollie doing what he's doing. Because I can assure you, at the start of this season, not many people were mentioning Ollie Rowland as somebody to look out for as a potential podium finisher at the end of this long season in terms of a World Championship place. But here he is, delivering like the mailman. And for further context, Nissan, a Japanese company, Tokyo, the capital of Japan. This has been such a long time in the making. To be here and see Nissan doing this with Ollie Rowland at the helm, we flipping love it.
It's a huge deal, isn't it? A big shout out also to Maserati MSG Racing driver Maximilian Gunther, starting second on the front row of the grid alongside Oliver Rowland. We need to move on. We need to talk about people down the back of the grid. Sam Bird, we've heard from already on this show. He was at the start, the last place he finished in the race was first. He's now starting this race from 22nd, not where he wants to be. And the championship leader, Nick Cassidy, not even making it through into the quarterfinals and starting 19th. Just explain what happened there.
That is possibly the biggest headline coming out of qualifying. So, as I'm sure you guys are aware, so in qualifying it starts off with groups. 2 groups, Group A and Group B, and the fastest 4 drivers from each group go through to the duels. Now, to get that fastest time can have a little bit of bureaucracy to it, and this was no exception. So Nick Cassidy finished 4th, or so we thought. Then his time was deleted. I spoke to James Barkley, the team principal of his team, Jaguar TCS Racing, immediately afterwards. He at that point didn't know why his race time had been deleted. So you then take his next fastest time, which unfortunately meant he was not inside the top 4. And who was? His teammate, Mitch Evans, who was 5th at that point. So the drama unfolding and unravelling had been fantastic. But for Nick Cassidy, the championship leader coming into Tokyo, bear in mind he had a 19-point lead coming into Sao Paulo, which got slashed after his DNF now to 4 points. This could be huge.
Yeah, it's a huge moment there. Nick Cassidy then starting 19th on the grid. It's been a great start to his career though beforehand. Jaguar TCS Racing is his current team. He made the switch from their customer team Envision at the end of last season. 3 podiums in his first 3 races, including a victory in Saudi Arabia. He is a huge name in motorsports here. There's posters of him right by the entrance. There's fans that have got a moment with him. They've been taking selfies. He's been massively successful. He won the Japanese F3 series, the Super GT and the Super Formula Championships here, and I caught up with him on his big return to Japan.
It's awesome to be back, I must say. Really enjoying the week. Actually looking forward to getting kicked off with the racing now, to be honest. But in a way, feels like home. A lot of friends here, a lot of contacts, and just enjoying it.
With 3 championships, and is this called the Japanese Triple Crown?
I don't know. Maybe we've just made that up to make it sound even better. But
yeah,
no, I'm not.
It's a pretty good accolade, though.
It's really cool. I'm really proud of that. I don't know if that's the exact title, but certainly proud.
When you win so much in a country like Japan, you must gain a lot of fans as well. Do you find yourself getting recognised a little bit more? Are people asking for selfies more than in other countries?
Not gonna lie, I lost a lot too. That's the thing about racing. You lose a lot more than you win.
Yeah.
But certainly had some good times here, and yeah, for sure, recognised here more than any other place, for sure.
For you to have been so successful here, it would be probably, I would imagine, a really big accolade to win the first race in Tokyo in this championship in Formula E.
It would be a really cool goal, a really cool thing to achieve. But in the end, the World Championship is what we have our sights set on. So this weekend is big. It's going to be a lot of fun. It means a lot. However, we can't really let that distract from the bigger picture. We race in a lot of cool places. Winning Monaco last year was one of the coolest things ever, but it's amazing, probably that didn't make up for losing out in the World Championship at the end of the day. So I'm not trying to downplay it or say it's not going to be a cool thing, but definitely not going to be too disappointed if it doesn't happen, because the big goal is still the World Championship.
Nick Cassidy there, the Kiwi driver for Jaguar TCS Racing, sounding laser focused. Everything is focusing on the big prize. It's not about just one race, it's about the championship. Radzi, how do you think he's going to do in this race, starting 19th?
Qualifying was unpredictable and nobody would have called what happened to Nick, but to put some sort of garnish on what took place in the semi-finals, you had Mahindra, Maserati, Neo and Nissan. If you'd gone to the bookies beforehand and done a multiplier on that, you'd be a millionaire with about £1 worth of investment. Do not write Nick Cassidy off. My guess, I heard him on the radio, there was a lot of profane words that were spoken, a lot of industrial language. He was livid, and he was livid because he didn't get the opportunity to lay down a ridiculously fast time. Now, it's one thing if you don't qualify when the speed wasn't there. The speed is there. The big question now is, when there's traffic in front of him, will he roll the dice, and what will happen when he does, given the fact that he's had history of not finishing, and that history was in Sao Paulo last week. But my guess is Nick Cassidy will feature and he'll get some serious points here this week.
Well, we are minutes away from live commentary of round 5 of the Formula E World Championship. It's coming up in under 15 minutes time. Before then, we're going to take a look at the championship standings, and we'll also hear from another driver who knows exactly what it feels like to win here in Japan. Minutes away from our live commentary of the Tokyo E-Prix here in the Formula E World Championship. I'm John Jackson, joined with Radzi, and before we hear from another of the drivers taking to the grid today, let's remind ourselves of the championship table after 4 rounds. We've talked about him at length. It's the championship leader Nick Cassidy on 57 points leading the way. Behind him, 4 points back, is Pascal Wehrlein, the Tag Heuer Porsche driver. Mitch Evans, Nick's teammate, is a little way back there on 39 points level with Jean-Eric Vergne, the only double Formula E back-to-back champion in the history of this series, while reigning champion Jake Dennis is on 38 points, 1 point back for Andretti. Sam Bird, thanks to that victory last time out in Sao Paulo, is 6th in the table at the moment, 37 points for him. Oliver Rowland, the person starting on pole position today here in Tokyo for Nissan, is 7th, 33 points. I have a feeling at the end of this race, if nothing goes away from him, he's going to be a little bit higher up in this table. Maximilian Gunther will start alongside him on the front row of the grid for Maserati MSG Racing. He's 1 place back on 22 points in 8th, with Sebastian Buemi 9th and Robin Freund, his teammate at Envision, 10th in the table. The team's championship at the moment, Jaguar Racing leading the way ahead of Porsche, with DS Penske, McLaren and Andretti Formula E team behind them. It's a big race for Nissan, Radzi. We've talked about this. Oliver Rowland has put that car on pole position. He has been the lead driver. We weren't maybe expecting that. His teammate Sasha Fenestraz has had an extra season driving that exact car for Nissan. He's in his 2nd season now, and he knows exactly what it takes to win a championship here in Japan. He won the 2019 Japanese F3 series. Now, as I say, 2nd season for a Japanese team, Nissan, here in Formula E, and he really is an international driver. He grew up in Argentina. One of his parents is Argentinian, one of his parents is French. Europe is his home, and of course he spent several years here winning over the locals.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really one of the best memories I've had in my racing career so far. It was here in Japan. I did nearly 4 years together with Toyota in Super Formula and Super GT, and also F3 the first season. So I definitely have great memories of this amazing country.
What would it mean for you to win this inaugural race for a Japanese team? That would be like the perfect
weekend.
dream
come true, definitely. I mean, we're looking for that podium or even first win for the team since last year, since I started in Formula E. We've been close to last year for a few times with starting in the front rows, and every now and then we were fighting for a podium until the last lap, and we just didn't manage to get it. So I think the potential this year is higher, as we've seen with Oli. With his experience, he's managed to secure 2 podiums in the last 2 races. So the car is there. I think we just need to maximize everything on my side of the garage, and hopefully, we can achieve those podium or even a victory this weekend. That would be awesome.
Big news from Nissan this week that they're committing until the end of Gen 4. That means that they're going to remain in Formula E at least until the 2030.
Yeah, 2030.
Which is super impressive. So as a driver, in your second season here with Nissan, that must be a really reassuring and really encouraging announcement.
Definitely. I mean, I think for even the sport, Formula E sport, the championship, and for the whole team, this is how I've been sold. When I signed with Nissan, they were like, "Don't you worry, we're going to be here for a long term, for not only Gen 3, but I knew kind of, their mindset." So that's something for me and the team also that gives a lot of stability and confidence, because right now, we've been having a lot of movement inside the team. As you might have seen, we had a lot of new people coming in last year, this year still some new people. So when they see this, it's definitely reassuring, and it's stability. That clearly shows the stability and the commitment of Nissan into, like you said, 2030. We're speaking about next 6 years. It's a lot. And for me as a driver, hopefully, I will continue with them in Gen 4. But for me as a driver, and especially seeing the performance of the team, how it's growing up on the last few races, it only gives me confidence that it's going to be a team that's going to be fighting for championship hopefully anytime soon.
Great to hear from Sacha Fenestraz. You may know Sacha from his sim racing days during the lockdown, during COVID. He was racing alongside his housemate, a guy called Lando Norris. You might have heard of him. Razzie, do you know about the bet between them?
No, I don't.
Well, there's a little bet between them, Sacha Fenestraz and Lando Norris. The first person, it was not really a bet, but it's like a race to the first victory. Obviously, Lando Norris driving for McLaren in Formula 1, and Sacha Fenestraz driving for Nissan here in Formula E, but neither of them have won a race yet.
Wow.
I don't know what the forfeit is. I haven't got it out of him yet.
Now that is big. Sacha Fenestraz, now I'm trying to think to myself how likely it could be that he would podium. The interesting thing about Formula E, comparing it to Formula 1 as you've done there with Lando and Sacha, is that Formula 1 is bigger, it's better known, it's more glamorous. But what it is very predictable. It's procession racing. Now, we love to watch certain sports because they're big, because everyone talks about them. And to many people hearing this, Formula E, these are brand new names that we're talking about, brand new teams. But if you like your racing unpredictable, and you like the fact that somebody could qualify P11 and potentially finish on the podium, this is the sport for you. And just touching a little bit on this, Sam, so their livery is stunning. To celebrate the fact this is their first ever foray into being able to race in Japan as part of Formula E, they've got nothing less than cherry blossom on the one side, and on the other side it says I heart, and the translation is Tokyo in Japanese writing. It's just wonderful. The fans that are here, we talk about the motor racing fans perhaps of Italy, dare I say the UK, dare I say certain parts of South America. You easily forget Japan. There are so many Nissan flags here. The grandstand is an absolute sellout. So this place is going to be absolutely rocking if Sacha or Ollie can be even close to doing the business.
Well, look, Oliver Rowland starts on pole position for Nissan. We've already heard that could be a tricky track to overtake. Sam Bird said earlier on, we spoke actually yesterday when it was bucketing down with rain here, he was saying actually he feels that he might be able to overtake more than he was expecting, and he's going to need to because he starts at the back of the grid. For Oliver Rowland, we know he's got the pace, we know he's got the skill, we know he's in a great run of form. In theory, he starts well. This should be his race to lose.
Well, it's funny that you mention Ollie and Sam next to each other, because they're next to each other in the standings. Coming into this race, they were separated by, I think, 2 points. It may be less, but off the back of winning pole, you are awarded 3 points. So that bumps Ollie Rowland up a number of places, because separating P3, Mitch Evans, and Sam Bird were 2 points. So throw a blanket over those guys. So just by winning pole, or achieving pole and being pole sitter, Ollie Rowland has changed everything, really. The question is, how will he fare with the target on his back? What does success look like to the man from Barnsley? He's got a young child, he's a family man. We thought he was out of the sport, but he's back. And dare I say, he was going to be a mid-table contender. No longer. People are talking about this guy as encroaching on the top boys. But Nick Cassidy, when he was on top last week out, what happened? He didn't finish. Why was that? I don't know. Maybe maybe it was pressure. Will pressure get to the man from Barnsley? All I know is I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out very, very soon. Radzi, thank you very much for joining me. One outside prediction for someone to make the podium today?
I'm going to chuck it out there because I hate it when people sit on the fence at this point. I'm going to go Edo Mortara of Mahindra for the simple reason this man went through to the semi-finals of the duels. That was not expected to happen. I said, you must be delighted. For context, Mahindra, 12 months it took them to get on the duels. They've done it back-to-back times with Edo. I said, you must be delighted. And he said, there was more there. And that is exciting.
It's very exciting. Radzi's prediction then, Edo Mortara starts third on the grid. Can he make it onto the podium there? We're almost ready to get underway here in Tokyo. The cars are on the grid. It's a Nissan on pole position. Can Oliver Rowland give Nissan their first Gen 3 win in front of this wild home crowd? Live commentary of the 2024 Tokyo E-Prix in the Formula E World Championship is coming up next.
You are listening to talkSPORT 2. I'm Will Gavin, and coming up momentarily, we'll be crossing back to John Jackson, Radzi and Lewis McGlade for live and exclusive UK national radio commentary of the first ever Tokyo E-Prix.
The FIA Formula E World Championship from our newest circuit in Tokyo, Japan, for live and exclusive radio commentary here on the Formula E app and talkSPORT 2. My name is Lewis McGlade, and I'll be talking you through the thrills and spills here as we'll be racing in just a matter of moments. Sao Paulo a couple of weeks ago was one of the most exciting races we've had in Formula E, with Sam Bird stealing the victory on the final lap. You'll have a hard job repeating that from the rear of the field this time. The circuit we'll be racing at, though, is a fantastic new addition, about 2.6 kilometres all the way around, of course set in the Tokyo International Exhibition Centre, more commonly known as the Tokyo Big Site on the shore of Tokyo Bay in the Koto City ward. The circuit features 12 turns to the left and 8 to the right across 20 corners, with an opening technical left-right chicane. Attack mode sits on the outside of turn 4, which is a hairpin, quite a medium speed hairpin as well, so it's going to be very tricky. Not sure how much time drivers are going to lose in taking it. Qualifying was exciting, it was interesting, it was thrilling, and it was absolutely crazy, and I'll talk you through the starting grid. Sam Bird will start from the rear of the field with Sebastian Buemi alongside the pair of those receiving penalties. Sacha Van Estras starts from 20th, and Nick Cassidy, championship leader after issues in qualifying, from 19th position. Stoffel Van Dorn has his own issues and starts down in 18th position, with Jehan Daruvula starting from 17th. Jake Hughes, another penalty for the Neon McLaren team, will start from 6th position, with Dan Tickton moving his way up into 15th. Quite a good qualifying for Tickton, to be fair. Lucas de Grassi had issues last round. Jean-Eric Verne will start from 13th position before we get to Nick de Vries, one of the previous series champions, and Norman Nato starting just outside of the top 10. The last two drivers who missed out on getting into the duels would have been De Costa, who would have been Frines in 10th, and then De Costa in 9th. However, Mitch Evans has received a penalty that's dropped him back down to 9th position, promoting De Costa up inside the top 8. So Verline will start from 7th position, and he had the pole position last time out as well. He'll start his way just a little bit up the order. 5th position will be Jake Dennis, of course, the previous series champion, who's been struggling a little bit more this season. Did have a fantastic run in the last run in the championship. Had a bit of a struggle late on in the race, but still was looking pretty quick. Sergio Sette Camera will start from 4th position as his joint personal best qualifying in Formula E. Edo Mortara, his best qualifying of the season and better than any he had last season, will start from 3rd position. Maxi Gunter on the front row for the first time since Jakarta, which was 10 races ago, and Ollie Rowland on his 2nd pole position of the season. Is his 8th pole position in totality, which puts him joint 3rd on the on all-time pole sitters list. So that's not bad for Ollie Rowland, who's looking for his 2nd win in Formula E and to move more consecutive podiums. Have 2 consecutive podiums in Formula E, which is the first time that he's actually had back-to-back podiums, which I think is a crazy stat. They're just moving their way into the starting position. I'll talk you to that first corner. It is a left-right chicane. It is very, very tight, roughly 300 metres from the start box. It is technical, it is tricky, it is going to be brutal as well. They go for a right-hander after that before they get to turn 4, that hairpin that I was talking about. It's a very tricky section. In the first, the 8 corners, it comes in right at you almost immediately in the first 30 seconds of the lap. So I expect they're going to be single file fairly quickly here. That said, this is Formula E after all, so you never really know what you're going to get with the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. It normally is pretty crazy. The predictor says that Nick Cassidy is expected to win by 22%, which is crazy considering he's a little bit further down the order. By a little bit further down the order, he's 19th position, so clearly all the fans at home think that it's still going to be a Cassidy one. The lights are about to come on though, and Ollie Rowland will start this one from pole position. The Tokyo E-Prix is go, and we are racing down towards that first corner. It's an excellent launch from Ollie Rowland, but an even better one though from Edo Mortara, who was trying to send it in. Mahindra have struggled thus far this season, but he is trying to put all of that one to bed, firing it in. They drop down the hill out of turn 2 into this tight section at turn 3, and then into that faster hairpin, the medium speed hairpin that I was talking about. The fresh liveried pink Porsches are in the mid-pack trying to work their way up the order. No damage, no major contacts. A little bit of a struggle there for the ERT car of Dan Tickton, almost getting into the rear of, I believe, one of the DS Penske's, but thankfully everything was all right. The order, though, as they check out of turn 8, Ollie Rowland first, Mortara second, Maxi Günther third, Jake Dennis in fourth position, Sergio Sette Camera in fifth, Pascal Wehrlein, Da Costa, Freins, Muller, Nato, your top 10. The Jaguar of Mitch Evans already working his way inside the top 10. Oh, make that, maybe not. He doesn't manage to clear Norman Nato into the 10-11 chicane, which is a right-left chicane, then into the left-hander almost immediately of turn 12 straight afterwards. But a crazy opening set there, but to be fair, less crazy than what we'd normally expect. No major damage, no major dramas. Jake Dennis making a move straight away, going into the penultimate chicane, trying to get his way into third position around Maxi Günther, unable to do so, and will have to settle for fourth position. They work their way into the final chicane at 19 and 20. Less of an overtaking opportunity, the 19 and 20 chicane, that final one, rather than the chicane previous to it, which is a little less tight. Big defence being taken down into the first corner by Sergio Sette Camera in the ERT car, trying to hold off Pascal Wehrlein, who was on pole position last time. Disappointed not to take that race victory. There's an enormous jump as they come down the hill, and I'll tell you what, Nico Muller absolutely took that bump in his Apt Cupra whilst he was trying to drag it diagonally across the road to try and defend from Mitch Evans as they work their way now into turn 3. The rest of the contingent are working their way through turn 8 and out onto this backstretch towards turn 9. A very fast, it's about 80 degrees all the way around, but it's quite high speed and all that. It's not a sharp corner, it's a fast average speed kind of turn, which actually is quite a lot of fun if I'm perfectly honest. Mitch Evans unable to work his way up the order, still sits outside the top 10. Will now try and make a move on Nico Muller as they head down into the 10-11 chicane. Once again going from right to left and then into the left-hander of turn 12, unable to work his way through. I'll update you with the order once they've completed this lap. Fastest first sector coming in from Norman Nato, instantly going on the attack, still going on the attack, is Sergio Sette Camera trying to clear Jake Dennis, series champion. Sette Camera obviously qualified quite well at one of the rounds earlier on in the season when we were kind of talking of these struggles maybe of Dan Tickton back in Mexico. Sette Camera was like, absolutely not, I'm not having any of that with this team. Fired his way up the order. Did struggle a lot in the race though. That was the problem. Actually, sorry, it wasn't Mexico. It was the first race at Diriyah, I remember. Dropped back down the order. Only scored a couple of points in that one, but showed the car does have some excellent speed. As is, to be fair, Edo Mortara has shown the Mahindra's got some excellent speed this time out, which Mahindra have struggled so much in the last couple of seasons. We've seen some excellent form for the Mahindra team. But we've not seen this kind of form. Currently running in second position, it is Ollie Rowland leading from Edo Mortara, from Maxi Günther, from Jake Dennis, from Sergio Sette Camera, from Pascal Wehrlein, Antonio Felix da Costa, Robin Freins, Norman Nato and Nico Muller still inside your top 10, unable to be passed by Mitch Evans. Sam Bird, Sebastian Buemi, no progress from them up the field from the rear of the field rather, as a defensive line coming in, rather an attacking one coming in from Pascal Wehrlein, who has now cleared Sergio Sette Camera. So Pascal Pascal Wehrlein has moved his way up the order. That was at the 10-11 chicane and down into turn 12. So Pascal Wehrlein now up to 5th position on the race. Sergio Sette Camara dropping down to 6th. And I will say the 2 special liveries that we've got for this round are in Ollie Rowland's, to be fair, the Nissan Formula E team, so Ollie Rowland and Sacha Fenestras. And then, of course, they've got like a little cherry blossom basically put on the car, which looks very nice, to be perfectly honest. But then the Porsche Tagore team have brought bright pink to the streets of Tokyo, and it looks excellent on Pascal Wehrlein and Antonio Felix da Costa, who da Costa himself has also cleared Sergio Sette Camara, as has... Oh, actually, no, da Costa's dropped back. I don't know 100% what's happened to da Costa, who's just been squeezed quite a lot there by Norman Nato in the first corner. So I think potentially there might have been an attempted move coming in from Antonio Felix da Costa, and it's gone awry because he's dropped back behind Robin Frijns, Sergio Sette Camara himself, and Norman Nato. Not quite Norman Nato as well, but nearly Norman Nato as well. Robin Frijns has made the early progress at the moment, working his way up 4 positions, as we're just going to take a replay at the race start, and I'll talk you through exactly what happened. It was an excellent start by Edo Mortara, but Jake Dennis was the fastest driver to 100 kilometres an hour on the race down towards that first corner, which allowed him to check his way past Sergio Sette Camara in that ERT car. Nearly, to be fair, was challenging for the podium. It was an excellent launch, just no wheel spin at all, just perfect grip. Did seem as though the right-hand side of the grid, so the effectively the outside for turn 1, but it's the more polished racing line, the one that they typically run on. That's where the advantageous start came from, as to be expected. Anyone starting on the left-hand side of the grid, which is where it was dusty, was where the struggle was, like Maxi Günther from the front row, just struggled a little bit, dropped back into 3rd position. As we come back to talking about the live stuff, no major switches from that point. I will talk to you, though, about some drivers that have done their first bout of attack mode. Dan Ticktum, Sacha Fenestras and Sebastian Buemi have all gone for their first attack mode, as Antonio Felix da Costa this time is sending one down the inside in the first corner and has made his way past Sergio Sette Camara. So Antonio Felix da Costa now up to 7th position, the order being Ollie Rowland, Edo Mortara, Maxi Günther. Obviously the only no switches in there. Then Jake Dennis, then Pascal Wehrlein, who is now running in 5th position. Then Frijns da Costa, Sergio Sette Camara, Norman Nato and Nico Muller, the points paying positions. A little bit tricky as they work their way through 7 and 8. These two, they're 90-degree left-handers, and they're quite tight, and there's not much space between the pair of them. And so it's very difficult for them to navigate, to be perfectly honest. 2 drivers have at least gone for attack mode for a second time and taken their full allotment of attack mode. That is Sacha Fenestras, of course, in the Nissan Formula E team, home race for them, and Sebastian Buemi. Those 2 run down in 20th and 21st position, so right the way down the order. They're looking to tick those off so that if a safety car comes out, they will be, in the pound seat, to be perfectly honest. There is no major gaps forming on this. It's not quite the same as the Sao Paulo E-Prix, where it was, to be honest, absolutely crazy all the way through. A bit of a lock up there, I think, from Robin Frijns, taking the defensive line to hold off Antonio Felix da Costa into the penultimate chicane. Again, going from right to left. There's a left kink going into it, though, that's incredibly fast and quite brutal. Very difficult indeed. That's where Sam Bird, if anyone was able to catch anything in qualifying, it's where Sam Bird had his problems in qualifying. I believe potentially was, I was going to say, I think it might have been Nick de Vries, actually, it was down there as well. There's a huge jump as well on the exit of turn 2, or turn 3 rather, which is very akin to the big jump they had, I say big jump as if it's like it's an intended featured circuit, the Rome E-Prix. There was a large jump as you come over a crest. It's very similar to that, coming down turn 3, only not quite as fast, thankfully, but you do have to pull it over to the race circuit, get on the brakes and then swing it through the next corner. The highest mover, like I said before, in the race was Robin Frijns. Antonio Felix da Costa, though, himself has made up 3 positions, and the only one that he's not picked up on Robin Frijns, because he's directly behind Robin Frijns, is, weirdly enough, Robin Frijns. Sounds very confusing, but yes, Robin Frijns has made the most progress in the opening portion of the race, up 4 positions, but has been unable to say. Here's Günther.
I know it's difficult. We got the 2 Porsche and 100 behind. I think Edo is getting to struggle a bit now.
So Maxi Günther's radio there from the Maserati MSG Racing team, currently running in 3rd position. I think there's some issues for Jake Hughes, and we've got a double yellow at turn 15. That is the right-hander heading out to this little backstretch into the double chicane, and Jake Hughes has been into the barrier for the Neon McLaren team. Is he able to get that car into reverse, or will this be a requirement of a bare minimum a virtual safety car to neutralise the race to allow Jake Hughes to get moving? He is unable to get moving at the the moment, although I have just seen on my track map he has started moving now. So he found reverse, got going. There is no requirement of the safety car. We are 7 laps into a 33-lap race, so there's 27 laps left to go. Plenty of time, of course, for these drivers to fight their way up the order. They're all being very patient at the moment, obviously looking after the energy, making sure that they've got enough to kind of get them through the race. Sam Bird has just got his attack mode, his second attack mode done. He was actually the fastest driver last round to tick off both attack modes back in Sao Paulo, and then went on to take victory over Nick Cassidy, who's now up into 6. Oh, sorry, over Nick Cassidy? My goodness me, over Mitch Evans, his teammate in the Jaguar TCS Racing team, who, by the way, shout out to Jaguar TCS Racing, of course, is their 100th race in Formula E. Looking to get something decent from this one, but at the moment, both drivers outside of the points, so they'll be very, very disappointed with that. Bit of a gap appearing at the front of the field, as I've got to say, Ollie Rowland has checked out a little bit from Edo Mortara, and there's a move coming in potentially for third place. Wasn't able to make anything stick with Jake Dennis. He looked down the inside into the fast kink at 16, into that penultimate chicane at 17, 18. Just looked down the inside, was unable to force anything out of the Maserati MSG car, but I will say the Tag Heuer Porsche of Da Costa has indeed managed to get his way past Robin Fries and up into 6th position. Ollie Rowland's big gap at the front of the field has already been closed down by Edo Mortara, which tells me that this is all about energy conservation right now, and playing the long game. 2 drivers, by the way, are under investigation, Nico Müller and Norman Nato. Now, they are at the back end of the top 10. They're under investigation for causing a collision, unknown as to what that is to do with, but race control will update us on that one. Lap 8 we head on to, as they're getting a little bit of a debris, a slippery service flag, but it'll be for debris. We had plenty of that back in Sao Paulo. That is coming through turn 8, going out onto the back stretch, going through the fast kick at turn 9. The order, by the way, at the moment, Ollie Rowland still leads, Edo Mortara in 2nd, Maxi Günther in 3rd, Jake Dennis in 4th, Pascal Wehrlein 5th, Da Costa 6th, Freitz 7th, Sete Camera dropped down to 8th position after starting from 4th. Then we have Nico Müller and Norman Nato inside the top 10 with 8 of the 33 laps roughly complete. Here's Günther again.
They deploy a lot, turn 1, turn 10, the rest you can't overtake.
Okay, copy, you're doing a great job, mate. Let's be patient.
Patience normally the key with a race here in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. It's all about conserving energy and going on the attack when you can. If you kind of leave things or do things too early, then you're going to be in a bit of problem town, as Maxi Günther was looking down the inside of Edo Mortara there into the first corner, was unable to make a move. So clearly whatever his race engineer is telling him, it's going into the right ear, as going into attack mode from inside the top 5. Pascal Wehrlein will take it, and he will only drop a single position. Oh, actually, he didn't drop a single position. I thought he was going to drop one to his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa, but in attack mode so well going into that hairpin at turn 4 that he didn't drop a single one, and that bright pink Tag Heuer Porsche will be able to close up using the extra 50 kilowatts of power to close up to the rear end of Jake Dennis and maybe go on the attack. But of course, just because you've got more power does not mean you can necessarily use all of it. You still have to use the same amount of energy over the race, so you don't get extra energy to go on the attack. You just get to use more of it. So it's kind of, it sometimes works as a positive, but sometimes it can be a bit more of a negative. And then that's before you even start thinking about heat and the recovery system itself and how complicated all this is. Basically, these drivers have a lot to deal with over an E-Prix. Defensive line being taken by Maxi Günther to try and fend off Jake Dennis, and still is able to do so. That was down into the final chicane at 19 and 20, and was able to fend off Jake Dennis. But the series champion, of course, he's still got the number 1 on his car, still has aspirations of retaining the crown. And of course, as much as we feel like we're quite a lot of weekends into the season. This is our 4th weekend. We've had 1 doubleheader thus far. From now until the end of the season, we've got a lot of doubleheaders. Maxi Günther going on the attack, trying to take over 2nd position from Edo Mortara, who took a defensive line coming down into turn 5, 6, 7 and 8, and will indeed hold off. This has allowed Ollie Rowland to check out to potentially over a second. It is 1.1 seconds now for the race lead. Ollie Rowland is trying to use this to run away, but do remember he did have a gap earlier on in the race and was closed down by the Mahindra of Edo Mortara, courtesy of how the energy consumption is in this race. But that look from Maxi Günther, he is feeling that he is much faster than Edo Mortara. We heard that on the radio between himself and the Maserati MSG racing team, that there is definitely the feeling that his car has got more pace, but he's unable to kind of make the move stick, and it's just kind of the struggles, I guess, of racing in Formula E around a tight circuit like this. It's not the peloton style race that we had in Sao Paulo. It's much more akin to what we saw over the first few rounds. We went racing in the Mexico City E-Prix, and of course those 2 races in Diriyah. 10 laps down of the 33. Fastest lap coming in from Ollie Rowland. Very quickly, I'll run you down the order if I can. Ollie Rowland for the Nissan Formula E team leads the race, with Mahindra of Mortara in second position. Maserati MSG of Günther rounds out the podium, with Jake Dennis, Pascal Wehrlein on attack mode at the moment. The Da Costa, Freins, Sete Camera, Muller, Nato, there we go, interrupted immediately. Edo Mortara has gone for attack mode and has taken it, and only dropped the single position to Maxi Günther. I will say Ollie Rowland used that 1.1 second gap that he had to take his first allotment of attack mode as well, but I will say Ollie Rowland on the field, at least inside the top 10, has the lowest energy of anyone inside the top 10, which is a little bit concerning for the Nissan Formula E team. They've used around, you'd be shocked by this, prepare yourselves, they've used about 1/3 of the energy in their storage, and we're 1/3 of the way through the race. So at least that side is tracking quite nicely. But normally you'd expect them to actually have a little bit more energy in hand, so they can go on the attack later on. But clearly, no thought of that. Big kick of oversteer coming from Maxi Günther, going out through turn 15, now towards the 16, 17, 18 chicane. There is a look in the background for Pascal Wehrlein, who had to really get on the anchors, trying to get around the outside of Jake Dennis as they work their way down into the penultimate chicane, now into the final chicane. It is still Ollie Rowland leading, but Maxi Günther up into second position. Attack mode obviously being taken by Edo Mortara. Maxi Günther yet to take his first allotment of attack mode. Inside the top 6, Ollie Rowland in first position, Mortara in third, Wehrlein in fifth, and Da Costa in sixth. They're all on attack mode, which means that second place Maxi Günther and fourth place Jake Dennis. Here's Edo Mortara.
Closes gap to Günther, he's pushing hard.
And trust me, I can see that he is pushing hard. He's leaving nothing on the table. As I was going to say, Günther and Dennis second and fourth position respectively, yet to take their first allotment of attack mode. As is Sergei Settecaro, Robin Freins, Nico Muller, Norman Nato, and Mitch Evans, all yet to take attack mode. As into the pit lane, oh, what a disaster for the Neon McLaren team. They have both cars in the pit lane, Jake Hughes and Sam Bird. Absolutely no idea what has happened to either of those cars, but the pair of them are in the pit lane. So we thought Bird was back, but unfortunately not quite able to bring it back to back for Bird. So for the Neon McLaren team, it will be nil point in this one. No points for them. As a look to the inside coming in from Jake Dennis, still trying to find his way past Edo Mortara, going down into the 17-18 chicane, and now he's having a look on him from Pascal Wehrlein behind. This is the nature of ABB FIA Formula E World Championship racing. You go for a look down the inside of someone. If it doesn't pay off, then you're the one on the chopping block. 12 laps complete. Obviously 21 then left to go in this 33-lap E-Prix. If there aren't any safety car interventions, we do add laps back on at the end of the race, so don't fear about losing out on any racing action. Into attack mode then finally, for the second time comes Ollie Rowland in that lovely cherry blossom Nissan Formula E team car, and it has cost him the race lead. We're about to find out what happened to Jake Dennis earlier on in the race. I did say he was into the barrier. He got assisted off by one of the Apt Coopers, which I'm going to... I'm not going to make an assumption. I'm not going to make an assumption. I was going to, but I'll pump the brakes. Just found out what happened to also one of the... oh my goodness me, one of the DS Penske cars, which I believe was Jean-Eric Verne, causing absolute chaos at the first corner, driving in a little bit too deep and making contact with one of the Maserati MSG cars. So not ideal there. That would have obviously been Jan Deruvla that he made contact with a little bit further down the order, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, Jake Hughes, either way, he had his problems. We just saw the replay of that. He got assisted into the barrier, which is probably one of the things that they were noting in race control. Update then in the race, Maxi Günther is your race leader. Ollie Rowland is second place. Then Edo Mortara in third. Fastest lap has just come in from Maxi Günther after taking over the race lead for the Maserati MSG racing team, but he has yet to take attack mode. Ollie Rowland in second place has taken both of them. Robin Friends has worked his way past Sergio Sette Camara for 7th position, so the two of those have switched quite a bit as Maxi Günther's taken his first allotment of attack mode, dropped out from the race lead and dropped down into 3rd position at the moment. So that's clearly what's being cost when you go through that attack mode. You drop 2. Ollie Rowland was right behind him, just set the fastest lap of the race did Max Günther, and now down into that 3rd spot. Obviously Edo Mortara still has to take 1 allotment of attack mode. He currently runs in that 2nd position, but it has basically just been, well, to be focused on trying to close down on Ollie Rowland, really, before thinking about anything to do with that 2nd attack mode. It also just ended fairly recently for him. Edo Mortara, though, I'm very impressed thus far with how that Mahindra team has been. It is still a pack race for the race. We do have a bit of a break in the pack. But I'll talk about that onwards a little bit further down the order from there, and that's really the 16th spot is where the break is. Everyone else is within a second of each other, one between the next car. So Ollie Rowland, half a second clear of Edo Mortara, who's 2/10 clear of Maxi Günther, who's 3/10 clear of Jake Dennis. Although I will say Maxi Günther has just worked his way back through on Edo Mortara, so expect to see more movement up the order. He's using the attack mode to his fullest extent and now moves his way back up into 2nd position. He's got 2 minutes and 40 seconds of his first allotment of attack mode. He's gone for 4 minutes and then 4 minutes. Ollie Rowland went for 2 minutes and then 6 minutes. Of course, you have to use... sorry, here's Günther again.
Great job, mate. Eyes forward. Rowland, 2nd attack mode, 3 minutes 30 remaining.
We are loving the Maserati MSG radio between themselves and Maxi Günther, clearly. So, it's where a lot of the interesting stuff is happening. Maxi Günther looking for a victory, and to be fair, looking for some more championship points. Ollie Rowland, by the way, can take over the race lead, as well as the championship lead in this race if he wins, and there's a disaster for those behind. Well, Nick Gasly's not scoring points, so... maybe Ollie Rowland will be leading the championship after this, which, considering after 3 races of this season, everyone thought Nick Cassidy was checking out into the distance. What a turnaround this is. And what a return, by the way, for Ollie Rowland to the Nissan team. Obviously, the Nissan Formula E team was Nissan Edams when he originally drove for them before he took a little break, drove for the Mahindra team last season for part of the season. Of course, that's the team that's directly behind him, or a couple of positions directly behind him, in Edo Mortara, currently running in that 3rd spot. No switches really this lap within that top 10. Everything seeming fairly settled, but we are about halfway through the race. There'll be 18 laps to go. We've just completed the 15th lap. I've got to say, of the top 10, the highest on energy is Jake Dennis. I'm going to put this with a bit of a caveat, though. He did have the most energy at the end of the race last round in Sao Paulo, but I don't fully know why. I think it might have been heat related. Was unable to really use the energy that he had. And so kind of wasn't able to go on the attack, even though I was sat there thinking he's got the most energy, he's going to be able to fly his way through the order. He is yet to take either of his attack modes, though, so each to their own on that. Before I got interrupted by that Reaper, before the radio message, by the way, I was talking about attack mode. If you haven't watched the ABFA Formula E World Championship, it's Günther again, never mind.
We're doing a great job. 1% more energy than the car ahead and the car behind. Just watch Dennis. He's got 2% more than us, so he's got 2 attacks to do. He's saving for the end of the race.
I promise you I will explain attack mode in just a second, but now we are looking for a move for the race lead. Günther was trying to do it on Ollie Rowland very quickly then. They have 8 minutes of attack mode, which they have to use across the race. They can either use it in 2 minutes and 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 2 minutes, or 4 minutes and 4 minutes. It's up to the drivers as to how they switch it around. Ollie Rowland has gone for the 2 minutes and 6 minutes. Maxi Günther has used 4 minutes of attack mode, so he needs to use 4 minutes more. I thought if I talk about attack mode any longer, then we'll get another radio message from Maxi Günther. Thankfully, not on this occasion. Loving hearing this charge from Günther, who's desperate for that victory, desperate to hunt for it. Of course, we do know how strong he's been in the Formula E ABFA Formula E World Championship before. We know Maxi Günther is a quality driver. Of course, we've seen him race for a whole heap of teams as well. He did drive for the BMW Andretti car. He won in that twice. He's also won in this car, which was back in Jakarta last year. Would like to take his 5th win in Formula E. Ollie Rowland, though, weirdly enough, again, looking for his second, which I find absolutely crazy. We did have a stat on the grid. I did read it out, but there was the stat that Ollie Rowland... Oh, here's Gunther again.
I closed the door, man. That's so dangerous. Almost crashed into him. Reported, turn 18.
Yeah, understood. Stay calm. Stay calm. It's a long race, and you got great pace. Stay calm. We'll report.
I can confirm it wasn't that bad. But obviously when you're in the car, you're getting a little bit heated. There has been a switch. Antonio Felix da Costa has worked his way up into 5th position. Maxi Günther still unable to work his way past Ollie Rowland, but this pack, clearly it is getting heated. We are now halfway through the race. We've completed 17 of the 33 laps. There is just 16 left to go. And I feel here in Tokyo, we are about to reach boiling point. I am amazed. I am shocked that we haven't had any really major incidents. It's really only been Jake Hughes who's got sent off into the barrier. Again, it was one of the Abt Coopers. I think it might have been Nico Miller. I'm just commit to it now. I think it was Nico Miller, but I'm not 100% sure. It could have been Degrassi as well. Evans has cleared his way past Sergio Sette Camera, by the way, up into 10th position. And to read you through the top 10 very quickly, Ollie Rowland still leads the way. He's completed both his attack modes. Maxi Günther has not done his second attack mode, has done his first. He runs in 2nd position with Edo Mortara, Da Costa, then Dennis Wehrlein, Nato, Freins, Sette Camera, Muller, and there is big damage on Mitch Evans' car. He has lost his front wing. It is basically going under the front left wheel, and he is just bringing that one slowly back around. Degrassi is having issues with him as well, so the pair of those dropping right the way down the order. They were fairly close to themselves on the circuit, and James Barkley, team principal of Jaguar TCS Racing, is not looking particularly pleased in Jaguar's 100th race. There is this whole thing in motorsport of cursed races where you have a race like the 100th and you have a big drama in it. Speaking of which, Jake Dennis, oh my goodness me, he and Antonio Felix da Costa, he and Wehrlein rather, are taking absolute chunks out of each other going through the final chicane. And I will say, Pascal Wehrlein's got now a damaged front wing. I think Jake Dennis has got a bit of a damaged car as well. Norman Nato's snuck his way through in his Andretti car up the 5th position rather. Jake Dennis now in a 6th. Norman Nato's going to come straight through for attack mode to take his first lap attack mode rather, and will drop behind Jake Dennis. But it was a bit fisticuffs there. I think race control might want to take a look at it. And there's a very damaged front wing on Pascal Wehrlein, who's now staring at the back of Robin Freins in 8th position, thinking, what did I do wrong in all of that? It was a bit of an aggressive send going into the final corner at 19. But maybe a little bit over the line. Evans and Degrassi have returned their way into pit lane. I'm not sure if Pascal Wehrlein's actually going to get away with that, because he's got, I don't mean in the incident, I mean in the front wing. The front wing's kind of dangling a little bit. He might get a black and orange flag, i.e. you need to come to pit lane and repair your car, get rid of the front wing, because it's the debris can fly off and cause damage. Here's Gunther once more.
Just for your info, at no cost, I want to be behind Edo again.
Yeah, copy. Went forward behind Mortara, Da Costa on his second attack mode. He overtook Dennis.
At no cost, I want to be behind the leader. Basically, what Gunther wants is he wants to take over the race lead and he wants to check out. Clearly, he feels like he's got the car to do so, but to get past Ollie Rowland here, do remember that Gunther's got to get past, check out, then take attack mode, and then... yeah, it's not an easy one for Gunther. Into attack mode for the first time this race is Jake Dennis. Norman Nato did a great job to hold back the field of Freins, of Wehrlein, of Sette Camera, and of Nico Muller. I'm going to check out a replay as to what's happened to Mitch Evans, and I'll try and talk you through it. Oh, it's a complete mistake from Evans. Here's a radio from him.
Oh, it's my fault, guys. I'm sorry. Did I have damage? I'm out. Yeah, I'm out.
So what he did was he went around the outside at turn 5 of Sergio Sette Camera, got it completely wrong, and then drove into the side of Robin Freins. How Robin Freins got away with that? It was a big bit of contact straight onto basically into the rear right of Robin Freins' car. And Freins is fine. Freins is still going in the race. Freins is still going in 7th position, but Mitch Evans has dropped back, and it is a disaster for the Jaguar TCS Racing car. Safety car has been deployed, though, for the first time here in the Tokyo E-Prix. We had plenty of them back in Sao Paulo. But for the first time here in Tokyo, we get a safety car. I think it's for some of the debris around the circuit. They did have a lot of clearing up to do back in Sao Paulo. I think they've got the same here. So I'm going to use this time as we complete our 20th lap to talk you through the order as quick as I can. Ollie Rowland leads the race from Maxi Günther, Ede Mortara, Da Costa, then Dennis, then Nato, then Freitz, Wehrlein, Seto Camera and Muller, your top 10. Jean-Eric Verne sits just outside in the DS Penske car with Nick Cassidy in 12th, Sasha Fenestraz and then Stoffel van Dorn 13th and 14th. Jan Deruvela in 15th position with Sebastian Buemi, not able to work his way that far up from the rear of the field in 6th position. Dan Ticktum in 17th, and Mitch Evans now down in 18th position, but obviously will be able to rejoin the rear of the field. Then we've got Jake Hughes, who remains on the lead lap. Sam Bird 1 lap down, and still in the pit lane, De Grassi and De Vries. Ollie Rowland looking to move his way forward, and here is his radio.
Just drove straight at the back of me.
Okay, copy.
Yeesh. Those two clearly not getting along too well. Just a little bit of animosity between them. A little bit of a replay here from Da Costa.
So attack mode for the moment, just Günther maintenant.
Indigo November Juliet 83.
That was some radio message from Ollie Rowland that I am not smart enough to understand. And thus I shall not try. But yeah, it was a little bit just showing a bit of contact and stuff. The thing is with these trains, where they're so tight, you have the concertina effect, and basically you're getting on the brakes for a corner, and you basically get into the car ahead, who gets into the car ahead, who gets into the car ahead. Jake Hughes, by the way, has lost his front wing, I think, again. Don't know where, how or why, but obviously he sits at the rear of the field, but has to get that front wing repaired surely. But yeah, very very odd one there. Not sure what happened to Hughes. Got a big bit of damage there on the front wing. Oh, that was De Grassi, who is obviously in the pit lane. Maybe that wing kind of failed a little bit. It was a bit of damage hanging off on the front right, going through one of the chicanes. Basically, we're just getting a lot of beautiful slow-mos of these cars racing around here and showing how difficult it is. This Tokyo E-Prix circuit, I've got to say, I've watched Formula E since the very start. It's been a long run since season 1, obviously 10 years now. I've watched every race, I've watched it from the start. I would say this is up there with one of the hardest circuits that we've raced at. Just, it looks so technical and tricky, especially in that first sector. So why we're seeing so many drivers struggling to kind of make moves up the order. At the moment, there's nothing they can really do on a safety car. They're just cruising around, basically saving energy, obviously, but preparing for that final moment of the race. Maybe even expecting another safety car. They do always say, if you've watched American motorsport like IndyCar, NASCAR, that kind of likes, you do always get told safety cars breed safety cars. And yeah, I can kind of see that around here. People getting a bit aggressive on that on the restart of the race. I can definitely see that one. 20 laps complete. We're on the 21st of proceedings. They've caught up to the Porsche safety car, but obviously now's the time to calm down and get yourself into the moments. Let's talk you through attack mode, by the way. So the drivers that have completed attack mode: Ollie Rowland in first place has completed his full allotment of attack mode. Antonio Felix da Costa in fourth place has also completed his full allotment of attack mode, and the only other driver inside the top 10 that has done so is Nico Muller in 10th position. That means that Maxi Günther in second, Ede Mortara in third, Jake Dennis in fifth. Norman Arthur, here's radio from Cassidy.
So I think this is going to bunch quite a lot. The lead cars are not really getting away, and you're up on energy compared to the cars in front. Robin, who's just a few cars ahead, he is 2% down.
Well, there we go then. Yeah, obviously, clearly not that easy for them to work their way up the order for Nick Cassidy, but he is in 12th position at the moment, and he does have quite a lot more energy. He's on 42%. He has the same amount of energy as Jake Dennis in 5th, but I will say Nick Cassidy has done both of his allotments of attack mode. So there is a bit of that in the mix. Getting a little bit of a look behind the scenes of the Abt Cooper team and Lucas de Grassi behind the squad. Not happy with how things have gone, and to be fair, he's not really had the greatest run. To be fair, he's not really had an ideal run since too long, but since becoming champion a long time ago. Yet to score a point for the Upkeeper team in season 10. Obviously has done a whole lot in the world of motorsport. Mahindra last year, he started out the season with a podium and then only scored points on 2 occasions after that. Has really struggled in the championship. His last time inside the top 3 was back in the 2018-2019 season. But before that, all of the first 5 seasons of Formula E, he was inside the top 5 of the championship. Has really struggled. 6th in season 6, then 7th in season 7, 5th in season 8, cool, then 15th, and now currently runs in 21st in the championship at the moment for Lucas de Grassi, one of our series champions back in season 3. It's just sometimes how it goes. We got a safety car, by the way, coming in this lap. There was a lovely pre-race or pre-race interview that was on the main broadcast with John-Eric Verne, who was talking about when he first came into Formula E and the struggles of finding himself as a driver, and how kind of put him on the back foot and trying to trust yourself. Excellent interview, really nice. Loved it. Loved hearing what he had to say, and it is so true for a lot of these drivers. When you have a couple of bad moments, dark days, it's hard to not doubt yourself. Here's Dennis.
Yeah, we've got to do Strat 13 discreetly though, because if we do it, then Mortara will just take it as well at the same time. He needs to do it at the last minute, and then as I'm taking it, he can pull up alongside me, but just let me go.
Yep. Whatever Strat 13 is, it's not. Well, everyone knows now. That's what I'll say. But no, obviously I have no idea what Strat 13 is. That was Jake Dennis, currently running in 5th position in this race. Obviously, that was something to do with attack mode. That's the whole bit on that, about when and how to take attack mode. Ollie Rowland then, at the lead of the race, will take off. 11 laps left to go in the Tokyo E-Prix, but there will be added time afterwards as well. They'll add an extra couple of laps on what we've lost behind the safety car, so there'll be still plenty of racing. They don't get any extra energy though, so they've got to look after what they have, and it makes things very tricky indeed for those final portions. Ollie Rowland leads, Maxi Günther second, Edo Mortara, Da Costa, and then Dennis has gone straight for attack mode. Norman Nato held up Robin Frines just a little bit to allow Jake Dennis to take attack mode and remain in 5th position. It was an excellent run from the Andretti driver into attack mode, beautifully taken, and now holding on to 5th. Obviously inside that top 5, the 2 left to take attack mode. 2nd place Maxi Günther, 3rd place Edo Mortara. No one else took attack mode on that first lap, but Maxi Günther is looking to take over the race lead. We know he wants to take it, run away, and then take attack mode. He doesn't want to take attack mode and then have to get past a couple of other drivers. He did say earlier, basically, don't put me behind anyone at all costs. Jake Dennis has already closed up to the back of the 4th place runner, and Antonio Felix da Costa trying to find his way past, but is unable to do so as they work their way through turn 15, now towards the 16, 17, 18 section. A bit of a look to the inside, more of defence from Antonio Felix da Costa, trying to fend off Jake Dennis. The Tag Heuer Porsche driver also looking to attack the rear end of the Mahindra of Edo Mortara. They work their way through the final chicane, out onto the start-finish straight once more. Ollie Rowland continues to lead, but that Maserati MSG racing car behind is getting bigger and bigger in the mirrors behind. They work their way through this first left-right chicane, and it is looking pretty clean actually. I'm surprised by how tidy they've been. Robin Frines, the nose really dropping away on his car, and he is jumping straight into attack mode. Oh, he was a little bit wide. Well, it was a little bit tight rather coming into it, so it was a little bit away from the attack mode. Still manages to check it off. Drops only the single spot to Pascal Wehrlein, who is also yet to take his second bout of attack mode. The battle for 3rd position, Edo Mortara fending off Antonio Felix da Costa at present. And a look, obviously, with Jake Dennis behind. Jake Dennis, his attack mode, it was only 2 minutes if I remember correctly, so he doesn't have that much time to use it. To be fair, it might already be up, but he might be down to just the energy that he's got. But do remember, he has more energy in the tank compared to an awful lot of other drivers inside the top 10. Looking to the outside coming into turn 15 before we get this little stretch down towards 16, this fast kick into the 17-18 chicane where we've seen a couple of attempts of overtake. Oh, I've just seen there's an awful lot of damage on the front end of Pascal Wehrlein's Tag Heuer Porsche. Oh, that's the one we've already talked about, never mind. I don't know why I say I just noticed it. Obviously I noticed it ages ago because I said he should have got a black and orange flag. I'm still surprised he hasn't, actually. That's why I was so shocked by it. Never mind, I'll pump the brakes. There is no extra damage on the front end of Pascal Wehrlein's car, but he is on the rear end of Norman Nato trying to take over 6th position. Sergio Sette Camara dropped back to the rear end of the top 10. He now runs in 9th position, but Nico Muller is trying to attack him to try and move his way up the order, and they now are joined in that fight by Nick Cassidy, who we heard from the Jaguar TCS Racing team about the positive mentality that they've got around the energy they've got remaining in that car. Here's Maxi Günther for the 6th time.
Okay, Roland is weak. He's lifting very early.
No complaints there from Maxi Günther, remaining silent at the moment, and hearing from his race engineer, Ollie Rowland is weak. Ollie Rowland's really weak. He has basically come to an absolute stop on the stretch between 9 and 10, and Maxi Günther has taken the lead of the Tokyo E-Prix. I don't know what happened there, and I wonder if the Nissan Formula E team car has a little bit of a problem. I don't know. He just pulled over to one side, did not have the pace. Maybe he just lifted early, a bit of lift and coast going into turn 10 and 11, and Maxi Günther chose that time to not lift and coast and just went for it. In fact, did set his personal best second sector of the race. Ollie Rowland, though, was quite considerate. It's about half a second slower than anyone else in that middle sector, so I don't know what happened to Ollie Rowland. Maxi Günther is going to put the right foot down now as he tries to check out into the lead, into the distance, and then take his attack mode. Of course, looking for yet another win in Formula E. It would be his 6th in his Formula E career, and obviously for Ollie Rowland, he's looking for his first. I'm going to get a little bit of a replay here to try and see if I can work out what exactly happened. No, I think Ollie Rowland had a problem. I think there was some problem. He pulled over to one side and then lifted. I think there was some problem coming out of turn 9. Whatever it is, the problem is rectified because he remains in 2nd position without any other major pace issues. But yeah, very concerning moments for the Nissan Formula E team. Obviously, again, home soil for them, the Tokyo E-Prix. They would love to win this race. But maybe it might be slipping through their fingers with Maxi Günther taking over the race lead and already starting to build a bit of a gap. It's now moving out to nearly a second. It's at 9/10 of a second. Meanwhile, behind all that, 6th position, Norman Nato, Robin Freintz either side of Pascal Wehrlein. So Nato in 6th, Wehrlein in 7th, Robin Freintz in 8th position. And all that, but of course, Wehrlein with that damaged front wing. I've said this at Sao Paulo, these cars aren't the most aero dependent. It's not like in Formula 1 where if you get a bit of front wing damage your race is basically toast until you get that front wing repaired. In this you can do quite a bit of work even with a damaged front wing. Maxi Günther then, with 7 laps left to go in the Tokyo E-Prix, leads by 1.2 seconds over Ollie Rowland, Edo Mortara, Antonio Felix da Costa, Jake Dennis. Here's Maxi Günther again.
Okay, let's open the gap this lap. Overconsume a bit.
That's exactly what he is doing, opening up the gap. There has just been a fastest lap set by someone of absolutely no relevance to the points paying positions, but Sam Bird set a purple first sector, a purple second sector, and a purple third sector. I don't really think he really cares about energy consumption anymore. His fastest lap was set, it was a 1:19.7. The fastest, though, the leader, Maxi Günther, set a 22.1. That is 2.5 seconds faster for Sam Bird. Yeah, I think he's just trying to have a little bit of fun there. Maxi Günther, though, using a bit more energy than the rest of the contingent, trying to clear out a bit of a lead. He used 3.3% on the previous lap to Ollie Rowland's 3.1%. Yes, 0.2%. It may sound like nothing. It may sound like a very small margin, but in Formula E, it is all about small margins. Maxi Günther then leading by 1.1 seconds, the gap being closed down a little bit in the middle sector by Ollie Rowland, who's gone strong there at various points throughout this race, and of course in qualifying as well. Remember that Günther and Rowland went toe-to-toe for pole position earlier on in the day in the duels. Now the gap's 1.7 seconds. I think Maxi Günther is either going to take it this lap or he might take it next lap. He's taking it this lap. He's going straight through attack mode to take his second allotment of attack mode. Bosh, bosh, bosh. Maxi Günther is through. He holds on to the race lead, but he takes his second attack mode. So for the Maserati MSG Racing driver, this is a huge moment. Ollie Rowland has 8 pole positions in Formula E. and just the single victory. And it looks like yet another one might slip through his fingers unless he can maybe get the elbows out. Maxi Günther leading from Ollie Rowland, and Edo Mortara trying to take over second position. Honestly, that was very impressive. A bit of front wing has just come off of someone. I think there's a bit of front wing that was just probably sitting there down at turn 11 and 12, like one of the end plates of the wing. It's just been flicked up. I think it's absolutely fine. No one's been damaged or anything like that. It doesn't look like it's come off of anyone in the top grouping. Energy percentages within that top grouping, though, things are looking actually quite good for Günther. Well, they're all basically the same. Günther, Rowland, Mortara. Günther's a little bit ahead. Got to say, though, DaCosta and Dennis, both the two highest inside the top 5. Jake Dennis about 2 or 3% ahead of Günther. There is 5 laps left to go in the Tokyo E-Prix, plus a couple of added laps. We'll get an update on that in due course when race control confirm it, and then we'll understand exactly what the dealio is when it comes to how many more laps we're going to get, how many laps we're going to run to. I would say, based on the safety car, it might be 2 extra laps. That'd be kind of where I would expect, maybe 1, but really it's probably going to be 2. Either way, it's going to be in that margin. Fast lap just coming in once more from Sam Bird, going quite quick. Again, a 19.7. That was 5 seconds faster than the race lead, because he obviously went through attack mode. But it was a 24.9 from Maxi Günther. Anyone with the timesheets open will feel fairly satisfied, because Maxi Günther set a 24.999. It's very satisfying on the timesheets. And now that he's taken over the race lead, now that he's burnt his energy, and now that he's taken his second attack mode, Maxi Günther's pace has dropped back a little bit, and Ollie Rowland is closing back in. The gap now just 0.3 of a second, so we are going to get a fight for the race lead, surely. Günther leading from Rowland, from Mortara, from DaCosta, from Dennis, from Nato, Wehrlein, Freund, Sete Camera, and Muller, your top 10. Of course, championship standings-wise, this is going to blow things wide open. There's been a bit of a problem from Edo Mortara going into the final chicane. Not sure what happened, but here we go.
3 more laps to take attack. The risk is getting higher.
Not the radio message I was kind of expecting. I was expecting to hear a little bit about what the issue was going through the final corner. Maybe he just had a bit of a moment. He's now gone through his second final bout of attack mode, come out side by side with Jake Dennis, who makes a little bit of contact on the exit of attack mode. Edo Mortara has dropped back to 5th position. Antonio Felix DaCosta on to the podium at the moment then. Took his first points of the season last round out with Antonio Felix DaCosta, which is, again, wild for the Tag Heuer Porsche driver. We know how good he is, and looking to go and grab his first podium since Portland last season. So yeah, he's not had the best run in the last year. That was 9 races ago, by the way. So it'll be a great turnaround for him. Maxi Günther looking for his first race since, I think it's 20 races since Maxi Günther took his last victory. I will update you with the old stats on that one. Don't you worry. But yeah, it's been a crazy race thus far, but more so in terms of strategy and pressure, and less so in terms of action, like what we saw in Sao Paulo last round in 2 weeks ago. Obviously still fastest first sector, or personal best first sector, coming in from Jake Dennis on that lap, so he's almost setting a personal best lap, and the added laps is 2. I'm a genius, it was 2. Wild guess that was, absolutely wild. Obviously all of the teams and stuff, they will be well aware as to how many laps would be left to go in the race. So it's back to 5. So I said 5 laps to go 2 laps ago, but we've added 2 laps, so now it's 5 laps to go now, alright? No one's going to panic. As Günther continues to lead. Half a second he leads by, half a second back to DaCosta, then from him, half a second back even to Jake Dennis in 4th spot, and then 0.8 back to Edo Mortara. Don't know what happened to Sergei Sete Camera, but I think he might have locked up something down into T1, went straight on and allowed Muller to fly through and take over 9th position. No further progress from Nick Cassidy. They were expected to go and grab those points. He still remains in 11th position. Edo Mortara has 2 minutes left with attack mode. Pascal Wehrlein's in attack mode as well, has 1:30 left to go. Meanwhile, his teammate in Antonio Felix DaCosta is trying to go for 2nd position. Antonio Felix DaCosta currently runs in 3rd. Ollie Rowland in 2nd spot, and Ollie Rowland is now having to defend. He was looking to go on the attack of the Maserati MSG racing driver that currently runs in 1st position with Maxi Günther. but Ollie Rowland may have to stare a little bit more in his mirrors. He did such a good job defending from Gunther in the early stages of the race. Maybe he'll have to do the same thing to keep Da Costa at bay. 4 laps left to go in the Tokyo E-Prix, so not long. Again, all dealing with the pressure. Everyone has to deal with it. Everyone has to basically just suck it up and get on with it. Van Dorn defending from Buemi. Of course, those two, they've raced with each other a whole heap. They're both champions in Formula E. Vern's only 1 position ahead. Obviously, Vern and Buemi used to be teammates in Formula 1. Oh my goodness me, there's a big crash here. Robin Fries has completely lost his front wing and is dropping right the way down the order. Was running in 8th position and now drops back to 10th, just ahead of Sergio Sette Camera. Nick Cassidy has somehow got his way through on Sergio Sette Camera. I think because Sette Camera took attack mode, and then Cassidy is now in 9th position courtesy of the issue for Frines. I didn't fully see what happened. He was side by side going down into the turn 5 and 6 complex, and I think his front wing got tapped by someone's front left wheel, and so Robin Frines has dropped down the order. And yeah, it's just a bit crazy, really. Either way, up towards the race lead, things are really starting to build up. Maxi Günther, Ollie Rowland, Antonio Felix da Costa all separated by 7/10 of a second. All of their attack modes being taken. The only driver who is yet to take their second bout of attack mode is Mitch Evans. About to find out what happened with Robin Frines. Here's a radio anyway.
Man, why does he turn left? Give me no space.
He probably turned left because it was a left-hander, but it was going down into turn 5, which is a left-hander, into a right-hander of turn 6. That was Norman Nato that he was complaining about, who was running in 7th position, but generally it was a bit tight. It was a bit tight, I'll say that, and that is obviously under investigation by race control. I can see Norman Nato getting a penalty for it, but I can also see absolutely nothing happening from it because there was a car width to the wall, and it's a bit of a risky place to kind of lead the car from Robin Frines' point of view. He has remained out on the race circuit, though. He's in 10th position, obviously lacking a front wing, so lacking the front downforce with it. 3 laps left to go in this one. They work their way through turn 9, and Ollie Rowland's pressure once more from Antonio Felix da Costa builds. Lift out quite early, going on that stretch down towards 10 and 11, which is obviously where he lost the race lead to Maxi Günther. They're all looking to conserve as much energy as possible. They have 3 laps left to go, and we were talking of the numbers earlier on, about 3.3% of energy usage. Here comes, though, Antonio Felix da Costa around the outside, gets a bit of a bump, though, from Ollie Rowland, and Antonio Felix da Costa is actually going to lose out to Jake Dennis. So Dennis has worked his way through now into 3rd position. Antonio Felix da Costa down into 4th. Jake Dennis has a decent amount of percentage of energy left to go. The last time we checked it out, it was about 7%, and they were on the back stretch when that happened, so they're a little bit under that 3% a lap kind of margin, which they were working with in the early points of the race. Confirmation, 2 laps left to go in the Tokyo E-Prix. Günther leads, Rowland, Dennis, da Costa, Mortara, Wehrlein, Nato, then Muller, then Cassidy, then Frines, your top 10. But between the top 2, it is less than half a second now. Ollie Rowland in the Nissan Formula E team's home race is desperate to try and work his way through the order. We're getting a bit of a replay of this attempt, though, coming in from Antonio Felix da Costa, and here's the radio from da Costa himself.
Man, this is not legal. This is not legal what he did.
I'm taking a look at it now. We're actually seeing a lovely view on board. I don't think there's much wrong with it, if I'm perfectly honest. I think Ollie Rowland does give enough room to the outside. He doesn't squeeze him into the barrier. There's a little bit of contact, but nothing major. It's one of those ones where it's arguably it's a racing incident, but obviously in the heated moment, we're getting their live radio. You obviously can't judge fully what a driver's saying from their live radio. That's unfair because everyone's heated. You're throwing the car around as hard as you can. It's so tight and twisty. The margins are so small. It is so frustrating sometimes. But either way, that is what they have to deal with. That is what they are dealing with. Maxi Günther continues to lead. Ollie Rowland looking down the inside, coming down into the final chicane on the penultimate lap. As things are about to get very, very interesting indeed. Obviously, Ollie Rowland looking for his 2nd win in Formula E. Maxi Günther looking to pick up yet another one. He takes a defensive line down into the 1st corner and is able to hang on to the race lead. But Ollie Rowland now looks as they come down into turn 3. The left-hander, the right-hander at turn 3. Norman Nato, by the way, did get a 5-second time limit for causing a collision, so I was slightly wrong, but kind of. It's fine. Günther still holds on to the race lead. Ollie Rowland in 2nd, Jake Dennis in 3rd spot. So tight between the pair of them. Ollie Rowland nearly hit the wall at turn 7 there. It was that close. Maxi Günther is looking for his 5th win in Formula E and his first since Jakarta. And to be fair, he's looking like he might be a hard man to beat here. But Ollie Rowland is going to throw everything at it. He looks to the outside coming down into turn 10 and 11, unable to do so. And once more, it is still going to be the lead held by Maxi Günther. It has been 10 races since we've seen him take victory, but once again on the final lap in Formula E, we might have a move here. Ollie Rowland got to the outside, was unable to do so going down into turn 15. This is going to come down to the final chicane, surely. We've got the penultimate one to tick off first, go through the fast left-hander at turn 16 into the 17-18 complex. No move here. Ollie Rowland with just 0.5% of energy left to go. Into the final chicane they go, and Maxi Günther, unless there is any major drama, the Maserati MSG Racing is going to win the first Tokyo E-Prix in Formula E. It is Günther on top for the first time in 10 races. Ollie Rowland has to settle for second, and Jake Dennis onto the podium. Antonio Felix da Costa and Pascal Wehrlein round out the top 5. I will say for Ollie Rowland, though, for the first time in his career, he has 3 consecutive podiums. So very, very impressive indeed. It is 5 consecutive points finishes for Maxi Günther, and of course that all-important victory and a double podium at Jakarta, obviously last season, where he took the victory. Here he is.
Okay, so I've got it wrong in qualifying, but we've got it right in the race.
Get it right where it matters. I know Dario Franchitti will jump in a second to have a cheeky interview with Günther, but very, very impressive drive there from Maxi Günther to take that victory. Well judged, well paced, and well thought out as well. He knew he needed to take over the race lead before taking that second bout of attack mode. Timed it perfectly, timed it brilliantly, and again, an absolutely excellent performance from the Maserati MSG Racing team. Just incredible timing. Fastest lap, by the way, went the way of Sam Bird, but obviously he was a lap down, so I don't know how that really works in all of that. Big celebrations in the Maserati squad, and again, just excellent. That does mean, by the way, it's 5 different winners in 5 races at the start of season 10 of the ABBFA Formula E World Championship. There's 16 races in the season. We've got 22 drivers on the grid. Any chances we can get all 16 being different race winners? Do you know what? It's unlikely, but I wouldn't put it past them. You know what Formula E is like. It is absolutely crazy. They're on their in laps now, as they'll have a bit of a breather. I wonder what it's going to be like between Maxi Günther and Ollie Rowland, because it was a frustrating race between the pair of them. They were both getting frustrated at each other. Ollie Rowland said that Maxi Günther drove into the back of me. Maxi Günther was complaining about Ollie Rowland. Here is Günther once more.
Great execution in the race, and I think the season has just started for us. Great job. We see you on the podium, mate.
Yes, my friend, I agree.
There we go. Just lovely scenes for the Maserati MSG Racing team. They work their way into the final chicane for the real last time and bring their cars back into pit lane. I really want to see if there's going to be any... I don't think there will be. Like I said before, you get hot, you get heated in the race, you get into it. And it's not like Sao Paulo, where I said about the peloton style of racing, where you can make a lot of moves, you can work your way up the order from the back and work your way up. Ollie Rowland, by the way, gets your driver of the race with 39% of the votes. I think either way, between Ollie Rowland and Maxi Günther, that one would have been fair. Ollie Rowland did so well. Shame that he didn't take victory. Of course, for the Nissan Formula E team, it will be an excellent race for them and a very well-deserved podium as he looks to move his way forward in the Formula E World Championship. I'm not sure. I'm not... Again, I always say never trust a commentator's maths. I don't believe he's going to be taking over the championship lead because he was 24 points... Oh, he was 24 points off the championship lead. He's not taking over the championship lead. I think Pascal Wehrlein will, though. Pascal Wehrlein's just 4 points off the championship lead coming into it. And obviously, he finished in 5th place. He's definitely taken over the championship lead. Nick Cassidy... Oh, it's going to be very close between them. Nick Cassidy scoring 4 points for finishing in 8th position in this race. They're just climbing out of the cars. I'll talk to you through whether there is any animosity, and then I will talk you through the final, or the provisional positions rather, at the end of that race. Maxi Günther out of the car and so excited. Again, his 5th win in Formula E, straight over to the team to celebrate. I just want to see if there's going to be any words between himself and Jake Dennis, between himself and Ollie Rowland. Ollie Rowland's climbing out of the car. Jake Dennis looks pretty happy. Ollie Rowland straight over to weigh himself in. Obviously, no conversation between the pair of them. Both the top two in the race, Maxi Günther and Ollie Rowland, keeping their helmets on. But there is a bit of a handshake, a bit of respect between the pair of them, understandably so. So again, it's just the heat of the race. They're getting excited on radios, and they're both saying things. It's just how it is. Big smiles for Jake Dennis on the podium as well. And to be fair, it's where we expect to see Jake Dennis in Formula E. It's only his 2nd podium of the season. He's had one back in Diriyah. I'll talk you through the order now. Race winner then, Maxi Günther by 0.7 of a second over Ollie Rowland. Jake Dennis in 3rd spot. Antonio Felix da Costa in 4th, with Pascal Wehrlein in 5th position. Edo Mortara in 6th, Nico Muller in 7th, Nick Cassidy, Robin Frines and Sergio Sette Camara inside the top 10, with Sacha Fenestraz working his way up from the lower end of the field into 11th position. Jean-Eric Verne in 12th, Sebastian Buemi in 13th, Jake Hughes in 14th, which, considering the issues the McLaren team had today, not too bad. Mitch Evans down in 15th, again 100th race for Jaguar, just 8th and 15th for them. They'll be very, very disappointed with that. Norman Nato in 6th position, Stoffel Van Dorn in 17th, Jan de Ruvela in 18th position, with Dan Ticktum at the back of the field in 19th. 3 retirements from the race being Sam Bird, Lucas de Grassi and Nick de Vries. Of course, we will be back in absolutely no time for another new circuit in Formula E. Of course, it'll be the Misano E-Prix. We don't go to Rome this year. We are going to Italy, to the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. That'll be on the 13th and 14th of April. I did allude to it. From now until the end of the season, we have 6 race weekends. 5 of them are double headers. The only one that isn't is the Monaco E-Prix. It's going to be a long run coming into that season finale on the 20th of July, and we go to the London E-Prix. I cannot wait for it. I hope you can't as well. Thank you so much for joining us here, either on the Formula E app or on talkSPORT 2. We will catch you next round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship.
Well, thank you very much, Lewis McGlade, for bringing that race to life here in Japan. Another thrilling round in the Formula E World Championship. Huge thanks to everyone who's made us feel so welcome here in Tokyo too. We can't wait to return and do it all again next time. Thank you very much to Radzi. You've had a great time here, I assume?
It's been absolutely awesome. I think there's been so much expectation coming into this. The race has delivered in every single department. The fans have absolutely loved it. Hopefully the talkSPORT listeners have loved it as well. Our first time doing it. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring my passion for this incredible sport to you guys. And whatever you do, keep listening to talkSPORT and keep listening to Formula E, because this sport is off the chain.
It really is. You can check out all the driver interviews, highlights and fallout, of course, from the Formula E Championship on the Formula E social media channels. We'll have a full race debrief here in Japan on this week's episode of talkSPORT's Motorsport show. It's called On Track. You can listen on Tuesday afternoon on talkSPORT 2 and get it straight after as a podcast as well on the talkSPORT Podcast Network. Just search On Track in your podcast app. Rounds 6 and 7 are coming up in 2 weeks' time as the Formula E World Championship visits another new circuit. We go all electric in Misano for the first time. It's the coast of Italy. It's going to be hot. It's going to be competitive. Saturday the 13th and Sunday the 14th of April for the next round in the Formula E World Championship.